The following is produced by 5 Star Productions USA, which is solely responsible for its editorial content.
First and 10 for the Owls at their own 12-yard line. Jaron Allen back to pass, looking deep for his wide receiver. Thomas Parker has it at the 50, at the 40, at the 30. Parker's going to go the distance, 88 yards, touchdown FAU.
It's the Howard Schnellenberger Show with FAU head football coach Howard Schnellenberger and your host, former Miami Dolphin Jimmy Cefalo.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Howard Schnellenberger Show. I'm Jimmy Cefalo. We've got a very special program planned for you today. We'll look back at the inaugural season for the Owls, a 4-6 season, and a successful one at that, as FAU continues to build a successful program. We're pleased to have some special guests for you today. We begin, Coach Schnellenberger, with your defensive coordinator. I'll let you do the honors.
Well, thank you very much, Jimmy, and it's a real privilege for me to introduce Curt Hoza, my defensive coordinator, who joined us just a year ago. He worked with me at the University of Louisville and then went on to a distinguished career up until we brought him here to Florida Atlantic. Welcome, Curt.
Thank you, Coach. Good to be here.
Coach Hoza, talk to us about this program in this first year. Why did you decide to sign on with a fledgling program, one just beginning from the ground up?
Well, when I got to University of Louisville with Coach, I didn't know anything about football, and he told me that, and he said if I ever learned anything about football, I was obligated to come and work for him, so I really didn't have a choice in it. Actually, I think it's a coach's dream to come to a program, be able to begin from the ground up, and everything you put in place, every first practice, everything's new. Kids learn to play football only the way you teach them, so I thought it was a fantastic opportunity.
Were you happy with the way the defense progressed through this first year?
I think so. I think we always want to get to the top of the mountain, and obviously we've got a little climbing ahead of us, but I thought beginning with the first game and moving through the season that they definitely progressed and got better. And
in this last game where you played Albany, it seemed your defense perhaps played its best game, and as you go into this offseason, that's really the best sign for you.
Absolutely. A big win to get and a good performance to take into the weight room and into the offseason, and I think it gave the young men some confidence to know that if we went out and we executed and played hard, and all 11 of them did that at the same time, that we had a chance to be pretty good.
Oh, quite a few highlights from the defensive side of the ball. For FAU football, let's take a look. The first touchdown in FAU history was scored by one of your men. Todd Poirier gets the block on special teams and scores.
Pretty exciting moment for Todd there. He pushed back there really well, and Kurt Van Valkenburg coaches our special teams. I'm sure was happy with that one too.
Again, and then this Jacksonville goal line stand at first and goal from about the half-yard line. Your team did a great job.
Jimmy, that was a big series for us, for a young defense to take them starting on the half-inch line, and I think after 3 plays here, it's going to end up back on about the 4, and to know if we had just a yard of soil, we could keep them out of the end zone, I think was big for their confidence.
And as we focus in on the front 7 of your defense, they seem to grow and grow with each game. And particularly in this Jacksonville contest, your run defense was very strong.
Well, they came in to run the football, and obviously that's where it starts with stopping the run. And here we get an edge set and got great inside-out pursuit, and we did play well in the run against the run game against Jacksonville.
Tyrone Higgins, Jordan Roberts, all doing a nice job. And again, hear more of it with Gary Air getting up at the point of attack and making a play.
I'll tell you, Irvin's has really come a long way, and to think he's just a freshman is very exciting for us.
And in your final football game of the season against Albany, Joe Walker, number 52 on the blitz, turns the quarterback right into Ramon Rickards, who comes up with a sack.
Well, we told them they were going to run it, and if we didn't stop the run, we'd never get the blitz. And luckily, we got them to the point where they had to throw a little bit, and the kids couldn't wait to pin their ears back.
Your front 7, very athletic, very quick at the point of attack, it seemed.
They are a little bit light in the behind still, but they're young kids, and they'll only get bigger and better. But yes, they're pretty good athletes.
Coach Schnellenberger, evaluate your defense, if you will.
Well, I think Curt hit it right on the nose. That there's a good group of athletes who have all their football ahead of them. They're willing, and I think they're going to be a great defense in time.
And now you'll try to add to it with some recruiting in the offseason, but also, as you mentioned, get them into the weight room.
You bet, and they're anxious. They're already talking about it. They know in several of the games that the people they lined up against were bigger and a little bit more physical than they were. But given their age and what's ahead of them, I think we're in a pretty good spot.
All right, that's a look at the front seven for the FAU Owls. When we come back, we'll turn our attention to the secondary, a young group that played well as the season went along. That's straight ahead on the Howard Schnellenberger Show.
The Howard Schnellenberger Show is brought to you by Applied Card Systems, an industry leader right here in Boca Raton. Fidelity Federal Bank and Trust, here today, here to stay. Boca Raton Community Hospital, we're with you every step. And 5 Star Productions, South Florida's #1 film, television, and radio production company, exceeding all expectations.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Howard Schnellenberger Show. I'm your host, Jimmy Cefalo. We're joined by defensive coordinator Curt Hoza of the FAU Owls. And, Coach, let's turn our attention now to the defensive secondary, if you will. This was an area where you had a lot of injuries and a lot of difficulties, but as the season progressed, it seemed like you got better and better.
Well, we got a lot of young men that got a lot of experience this year. I think we counted it up the other day, and we had 10 different guys start football games for us. So that lent to them getting some experience, and we weren't a real cohesive unit just because they changed so much back there. But I thought ultimately they played well.
When you came down to the final game against Albany, you had 4 healthy defensive backs. What were you going to do if someone was injured?
Well, I took some duct tape from my garage when I headed out to the game. You know, we crossed our fingers, obviously. We had a contingency plan, and we had 2 occasions during the year where we had to put a linebacker back there at strong safety, and he did very well, so we rehearsed that a little bit, and fortunately we didn't have to go there.
It's all about innovation where you're a defensive coordinator trying to get it done. Mirante Johnson seems to be a young man who really has a fine future ahead of him, can hit, and is really someone who seemed to be a leader back there for you.
Well, I'd probably embarrass Boomer, as they call him, because when he came in, he wasn't that hitter we saw on his high school tape, but obviously we see now that he is a hitter, and he does make contact, and he is the leader. He not only on the field, but he's the vocal guy that the other guys look up to.
All right, let's take a look at some more defensive highlights, the secondary of the FAU Owls. We begin with the Bethune-Cookman game, and after BCC marched 95 yards right to the edge of the goal line, your defense took over, and Tarian Osborne took it the distance.
Well, the defense, Tarian was a recipient of a nice job by the front 7. Didn't give him anywhere to run, and I think actually Tyrone Higgins caused that fumble, and Tarian showed he could run a little bit.
And that turn of momentum certainly for that football game, and perhaps for your defense on the season as well. Let's go to the Marist contest, another one won by FAU. This play is broken up by quarterback Cameron Rogers.
Cameron, one of those guys, kind of pressed into duty, probably ahead of his time, but he showed he was ready. That's a big-time play right there.
And the man who likes to get after the quarterback and did it time and time again this season, number 52, your linebacker Joe Walker does it here against Jacksonville.
Joe's got great quickness. He does like to blitz, and that was a big play. He took him out of field goal range.
Your defense stepped up, too, against Drake, and safety Mirante Johnson turned this threat by Drake into an interception and a turnover for your football team.
Well, tar ends in this one, pretty timely turnovers. Boomer made a nice read on that. They had just run the corner route, and he read the post that time.
This is against Eastern Illinois. Their quarterback, Tony Romo, under pressure, and he is intercepted by Garrett Schubert.
First series of the ball game, and just a huge play. Garrett's had the injury bug a little bit this year, but made a big play for us there.
And one of your linebackers getting involved in the passing game here, Tyrone Higgins, does a nice job after you force the quarterback over to the right. He throws across his body, and Tyrone should have come up with this against Albany.
Coach Van got to do some more ball drills. Tyrone's got to make that play. Probably would have scored, too, because he can really run. Just got to get that one caught.
Now, overall, a nice season for our young defense. Coach Schnellenberger, can you evaluate the team overall?
Well, it's an improving defense that played with a lot of adversity because of injuries in different spots, but Coach Hoza and his assistants have done a magnificent job of bringing these young guys along. You know, it's the toughest thing in the world to know that you can be better and you can get better through time, but then it's to be able to master and keep yourself in check so that you don't over-demand the things that are unavailable to attain at this time.
Well, Coach Hoza, thanks so much for being a part of the program. Congratulations on a successful first year.
Thank you very much, Jim.
All right, we'll come back. We'll turn our attention to offense, and offensive coordinator Larry Cefalo joins us on the Howard Schnellenberger Show right after this.
Linemen, crowd the ball. Key the lineman or the ball, whatever your key is, and then explode into your gap. Those fat guys cannot run you off the ball. And linebackers, read your keys and fill.
Welcome back to the Howard Schnellenberger Show. I'm your host, Jimmy Cefalo. This time around, we turn our attention to the offensive side of the ball. We're very pleased to have the offensive coordinator for the Owls, Larry Cefalo. Coach, I'll let you do the introduction.
Well, Larry Cefalo and I, and of course you too, Jimmy, will go back to Dolphin days. And when I took the job at the University of Miami, one of the first people I brought in was Larry to work with our offense there. He went off to the National Football League for a bunch of years and ended up back with the Dolphins and coaching Marino. So I couldn't think of a better person to bring over here and coach our young quarterbacks and run our offense than Larry Cefalo. And Larry, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Coach.
Larry, you had two very good young quarterbacks you had to make some decisions on as the season progressed, Jared Allen and Garrett Chan. How did they progress as the season went along?
I thought they both progressed very well. I mean, they're young. They're redshirt freshmen. But as the season went along and with coach's offense, it's a progression-type offense, 1, 2, 3. I thought they picked it up very well. I thought they both had opportunities to make some plays and made some plays throughout the year. So I expect them in the next 2 years to be very good quarterbacks, both of them.
And you had some big playmakers on offense, too. Thomas Parker and Doug Parker, two men who played running back and wide receiver that seemed to have big play potential.
Our skill positions are pretty good. We feel our wide receivers are very good for us. Our running backs have got an opportunity to be as good as they want to be. So that part of it is set as far as we're concerned.
The one area of concern was injury, especially to the offensive line. You really had no cohesiveness because people were not available to you.
Well, we had one offensive lineman, our right tackle, Eddie Matthews, who's a senior, played all 10 games. Never had gotten hurt that he had to miss a game. But we mixed and matched all the way through with our guards, our centers. We started with one center. He got hurt the second week. We had to put a freshman center in there. So it was kind of a mix and match deal all the way through the whole season, and it showed at some games that they weren't really ready to play because they were young, inexperienced, missed a lot of assignments, missed a lot of blitzes, and that hurt us and put our quarterback in scrambling modes.
All right, let's take a look at some of the highlights from the inaugural season for FAU and concentrate on the passing game. We begin against Bethune-Cookman. Jared Allen behind center, and he shows some touch on this play, Larry, finding wide receiver number 15, Matt Prudenti.
Yeah, Matt just adjusts his route to a cover 2 look, and he hit him right in the seam there on a fade.
Allen seemed to be the scrambling quarterback. He does a nice job here avoiding pressure and getting to the end zone against Bethune-Cookman.
Well, actually had nobody open. He almost had to run it in, but he's got good feet, and that's why we liked him as our starting quarterback, because he has the ability to run the football.
Allen had a variety of wide receivers to choose from, a lot of targets. One was Larry Taylor, who makes a nice 41-yard grab against Bethune.
Larry came to us in January, and we recognized that he had some speed and some ability to catch the football, and he's obviously showed that he can do it.
The other quarterback who played well for you this year, another redshirt freshman, Garrett Chan, against Marist, looking for tight end number 82, Frank Conrad, a completion.
He's really supposed to be a quick throw, but the short guy was covered, and he noticed that the tight end was deep, was wide open, so he ended up throwing the corner out to the tight end for a touchdown.
Allen then back on the field. You were able to mix it up between the two quarterbacks. He also liked to find Taylor, a gain of 40 yards against Marist.
He moved around in the pocket because of a little bit of rush and hit Larry down the middle. I just wish Larry had kept his feet.
The running backs also seem to be able to hang on to the football for you too, Larry, as an old pass receiving running back. I know you like to see this. After the scramble by Allen, he finds Doug Parker for a touchdown.
Doug's very good hands, catches the ball extremely well, is becoming a better route runner as we go along, so he should be much improved over the spring.
And one receiver with a lot of potential is number 88, Thomas Parker, against Drake here, goes up and takes it away.
For a young man who doesn't have a lot of experience as a receiver, he's coming along really well and running well and starting to catch the ball. And
one receiver who was impressive to me was Brittany Tellis. This is against Drake, 23 yards on the reception.
Another freshman who I think over the whole year has become really our best route runner.
And perhaps the offensive pass play of the entire season against Albany, Allen hits Parker nearly in stride for the score.
Right, and this is really nice to see because we've been after Thomas to make sure he catches the ball and then runs with it instead of falling down. He really did a nice job there.
Coach Schnellenberger, you're the offensive passing guru. How do you rate the offense so far?
Well, I rate it improving, and that's the thing that we're always looking for. And we've got, as Larry pointed out, some real talent at the wide receiver position. And our tight end position really has gotten a lot better with Danson Darius as our starting tight end, and Tony Christinger-Hill gives us good depth at those positions. We're going to be fine. We just need a lot of off-season work.
And that means in the weight room, Coach?
Both.
Yeah.
In the weight room and when we get into spring and then throwing the football.
And we need a lot of work out there on the practice field, going one-on-one against our defensive backs so both can get better as we go along.
All right, when we come back, we'll turn our attention to the rushing game, FAU's offense and the running attack when we come back on the Howard Schnellenberger Show right after this.
Get on! We want to build on what y'all have already got going. We want to build on it. We want to go out there like it's practice. Get better. Every play get better. We're at the end of the game. We're a lot better than we are now.
The Howard Schnellenberger Show has been brought to you by Applied Card Systems, an industry leader right here in Boca Raton. Fidelity Federal Bank and Trust, here today, here to stay. Boca Raton Community Hospital, we're with you every step. And 5 Star Productions, South Florida's #1 film, television, and radio production company, exceeding all expectations.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Howard Schnellenberger Show. I'm Jimmy Cefalo. We're joined by the coach and also the offensive coordinator for the FAU Owls. Larry Seipel is with us, too. Let's turn our attention to talk about running and the rushing attack for you. You had a couple of running backs who I thought were pretty impressive, Doug Parker and DeColin James. What is your assessment of them after the first season?
Well, when they brought them both in as halfbacks, and then we ran really short of fullbacks. We really didn't have a fullback on scholarship, so we felt like one of them had to be the fullback. We tried to make one be a tailback, the other be a fullback, then we switched them back and forth. We ended up being with DeColin because he was a little bit better blocker and a little bit more intense on his blocking. And so both of those kids, I think, are going to have an opportunity to be big-time players for us.
Yeah, I thought DeColin James did a great job as a blocking fullback. All right, let's take a look at some of the highlights. The rushing attack for FAU. Doug Parker was the leading rusher for the Owls all the season. This is the first game of the year against Slippery Rock. It seems like he makes a nice cut to the line of scrimmage and gets around for a nice game.
He learned as the year went along how to run the football, and that was the start of it right there for us.
This is special teams, but it is one of your running backs. Anthony Jackson did a very nice job. This is against Marist of returning kicks.
Anthony had done this in high school, and Coach Van had thought he might be pretty good at it at college level. Obviously he is. I think he takes this one down to about the 5-yard line. I was hoping he'd score so we wouldn't have to get in the goal line situations, but
you were exactly right, down to the Marist 5-yard line. If he keeps his feet, he'd get in the end zone for you. Also against Marist, Doug Parker again up the middle for 13 yards and a first down.
There was pretty good blocking on the offensive line part, but Doug has learned over the last couple of games to really run the ball hard.
4 touchdowns for Parker against Jacksonville. And you mentioned that he started to hit the hole better. He became a tougher runner as the season progressed.
He started to get his shoulder square to the line of scrimmage and started hitting holes that he could see rather than bouncing it left and right. And obviously it paid off for him in this game.
Nice job of your offensive line, too. Conrad, the tight end, got a nice block pushing someone outside. You get into the end zone for a score. Your offensive line, you mentioned, was patchwork because of injury. But at times, it really showed the potential that it has.
There are plays throughout every game that you can see that they have the opportunity to block the people, and they know who to block, and they do a very good job with it. So hopefully that's going to improve as the spring goes along.
And Parker finding his way, picking a hole, and then showing the speed, putting it on in this game, and doing a nice job.
Made a nice cut. He read the hole really well, made a cut to the right, and got up the middle of it.
DeColin James, number 11 out front, does a great job of getting the defensive down on the ground.
One of the things that he does really well is cut block, and he knows who he's responsible for, and he's become a good fullback for us.
Parker again right up the middle, nice blocking by everyone at the point of attack, touchdown for FAU.
That actually was designed to go outside, but it was so open up in the middle that he just went right over the center.
We mentioned DeColin James as a running back. also like to block, and that's hard to find in a fullback these days.
It is very much. They all want to carry the football. Here he is carrying the football here, and he does a great job with it and has become a good runner for us and probably our hardest running back that we have.
A good job by the fullback, DeColin James, all year long, both as a blocker and as a runner as well. Now some special teams. We mentioned Brittany Tellis earlier with the passing game. This time he winds up taking the first punt return to score a touchdown in history, 75 yards against Albany.
Believe it or not, Coach Van told me this was a safe punt. They didn't want to give him anything and try to rush him, and they never really worked on it much. Maybe this is the key to it, Van. Just don't work on it, just let him run.
Just let him go. Some nice blocks downfield. The convoy picks up, and as Coach Schnellenberger told us earlier, there weren't any dumb blocks there, although he does dive in the end zone, not the smartest thing to do.
Right. We got a flag, but...
Yeah, well, it happens on occasion. Coach Schnellenberger, can you evaluate in the few seconds we have the offense overall?
Well, once we get an offensive line established that we can work on in the offseason and through spring practice, and we get a couple more backs to give us some more depth, I think we're going to have a solid running game. With the style of offense that we run, you've got to be able to establish the running game, because without that, you can't pick your spots to throw, and that's what we need to do.
And the offense that Coach Schnellenberger has run all these years, you fit into it extremely well. What do you like about this offensive scheme?
It gives you all kinds of variations, throwing and running. Gives you weak side runs, strong side runs. It gives you options to throw quick stuff, 5-step drop, 7-step drop, play action passes, screens, draws, rollouts, whatever you want. I mean, he's got so many plays that sometimes I get carried away and start putting too much in, and these young kids couldn't handle it. So we had to cut back a little bit here and there, and so I'm learning just like everybody else is with this offense. It's my first year as a coordinator, and it's been enjoyable, and I've had a lot of fun with it.
It's been a great season. Coach Schnellenberger, thanks for letting me be the host of your program. I've enjoyed it. Our thanks to Larry and, of course, to Coach Hoza as well. That'll do it for the Howard Schnellenberger Show for this year. We'll see you again next season on the Howard Schnellenberger Show. So long, everybody.
Coach Schnellenberger's attire is provided by Moss & Hoffman, located at 400 East Palmetto Park Road in Boca Raton.
This has been a presentation of 5 Star Productions USA, which is solely responsible for its editorial content.